I going to do? I need to do something different, do something unique. I mean, that's all tonight is my new show. And I want to do something that's different. The animal has got not so much retired, but he's got to do something that's different. I have no idea what I want to do. Driving me nuts, people, you know? Drive me crazy. But hang on just a second. Hang on just a second. You know, what? Hang on a second here. Hang on. Lucas!
Oh no!
What's going on, man? What's happening?
You're full of crap.
Hey, full of crap? What do you mean full of crap? I mean, look, you don't understand what I'm trying to do, son. I am trying to do a new show. I'm trying to rebrand myself because, as you all know, you know me, I am the one and only one of the best to ever do a sports show. You know what I'm saying? Huh? You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know what. Wait a second. I'm full of it. I got.
Yes, you are.
Hey, I gotta go. Listen, call me later, okay? And we'll talk. I gotta go. Bye.
This show is sponsored by Carpet Direct of Des Moines, Iowa. Welcome to Half Full and a Cup of Joe with Joe Fulford. The show that's always overflowing with optimism and caffeine. Joe's got his game face on and his coffee cup full, ready to dive into the world of football. From the Florida Gators to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and beyond to college and NFL football, Joe's got the analysis, the insights, and the passion to get you pumped up and ready for the game. So sit back, relax, and fill up your cup with Joe. And now from West Des Moines, Iowa, here is Joe Fulford.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the season premiere of Half Full and Cup of Joe. You're surely Joe Fulford. Yes, I'm still called the animal, but you know what? For these purposes, I'm gonna go with my regular name because you know what? I'm just a regular kind of guy, and always the kind of person that never looks at anything half negative or half empty. I always like to look at things half full, and while in the process, have a cup of Joe in the process as well. And welcome tonight. We think we have a great show for you to kick off the 2024 college football and NFL season as well. And we're going to talk about a lot of things on tonight's show. Lauren Meadows, the beat writer for Gator Bait Magazine, he's going to join us in just a few minutes. Lucas the Man Gator, he'll give us a recruiting update on things that is happening with the Florida Gators and such. And then a little bit later on, the Indoor Football League has their championship teams and a championship slated for a week from this Sunday. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. As always, we are sponsored by the fine people of Carpet Direct of West Des Moines, Iowa. You need some carpeting needs in the Des Moines area and around town. Give my good friend Ben Taylor a call, and he'll be more than happy to set you up. Um, and you know, and I'll tell you what. Speaking of setting up, how about those Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the things that they have been doing? I mean, it's been exciting as they get ready for the 2024 season. They kick things off this coming Saturday night in Cincinnati as they would take on the Cincinnati Bengals in Game 1 of the National Football League preseason. We already have two preseason games going on right now. One is New England against the Carolina Panthers, and there's another game, two or three others that's going to be going on later on tonight, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit. But college football is also getting very interesting as well, as a lot of things that's been happening, and all right. So hang on just a minute. Hang on just a minute here. Lauren, can you let's see, Lauren, can you hear me? Raise your hand if you can hear me. You can hear me. There are people out there that say that they can't hear me. So Lauren, please hang on just a minute. Let me see what I can do here. Um, Let's see. Let's see. Okay, hang on just a minute. Facebook is dead here. So I mean, they're behind just a little bit, so they'll be back with us here in just a minute. In the meantime, let's bring up Lauren Meadows. Bring him on as we get ready to talk about the 2024 college football season. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you, and oh wait a minute, you're unmuted. Duh. Would be nice if I could unmute you. Uh, you're muted. I believe you're muted because I cannot hear you. I have no idea why. Says I can't unmute my guests because they chose to mute themselves. Something's wrong here. I'm good. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, I see you muted. Why are you muted? You should not be muted whatsoever. I cannot mute you. Hang on here. Unmute. Hang on. Let me try this. Can you hear me now? Speak. I can't hear you. I've unmuted you, but I can't hear you. I don't know why. Let me do something here real quick.
Oh, I got you. There we go.
There we go.
Got me. All righty.
Okay.
We good to go?
Yeah, I'm able to hear on my page on Facebook, and hopefully other people will be able to hear me. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. Getting cranked up. Be here before we know it.
I tell you what, it's going to be exciting here. Bonnie, I hope Bonnie K is joining us here. And Bonnie, if you can hear me, let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, a lot of things that's been happening. Let's start let's start things from the very beginning in the off season. The Gators had a great recruiting class, headlined by the quarterback DJ Lagway, who's been who's been on the Gators side for more than a year.
Yeah, I mean, DJ Lagway was an early commit. You know, it's very rare you get a guy of that caliber, National Gatorade Player of the Year, committed. I think almost at the beginning of the basically 2023 recruiting season. Kind of stayed fast with the Gators and really started to try to recruit other guys into the fold. And so they were able to get guys like Aaron Childs, who was Maryland Player of the Year, LJ McCray, among others, Tank Hawkins at receiver, and just really bring in a good group of guys. And Lagway, from what I understand, from a character perspective, obviously physically, he's put together and has really bought into what the Gators are doing and really seems to have accepted his role, whatever that may or may not be, and just has really come in and really worked. And, I saw him in the spring, and obviously, my expectations of a college freshman, particularly in the spring, you could see flashes, obviously, but then seeing him now in the fall, and you have seen improvement with the feet, a tighter release, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be the heir apparent once Graham Mertz is done. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the recruiting class and then bringing in guys from the transfer portal like Pup Howard and Asa Turner, Joey Slackman on the defensive line. They've really improved the depth. And Billy Napier was talking about how the depth is so strong now, for lack of, however you want to take that, but that there are still a lot of positions that are still up for grabs in this camp because they have a ton of guys that they see as serviceable, and daily the depth chart is changing. So, you look at Lagway as the headliner of the class, but like I said, guys like LJ McCray, Aaron Childs, Miles Graham, who are going to see substantial playing time as well. So yeah, they brought in some guys that looked the part. I wrote about it last night. You talk about 2 days ago, rather, guys like Aaron Childs and Miles Graham, over 6 feet, 230 pounds. Those are SEC type linebackers. LJ McCray, 6'6", 260. That's what you want the guys to look like when they walk through the door. And then you can really get after it and put some pounds on them. But Aaron Childs was a summer entry, didn't go through spring, but already came into Florida squatting 500 pounds. He's out of Good Counsel. For those of us that don't know, some of those of our listeners, Good Counsel is one of the top programs in the state of Maryland. Plays in that Catholic league there, and they play people have heard of DeMatha and some of those schools. They play in that same league there. So, definitely somebody can play. Obviously, we know about Miles Graham, and people saw him this past year in Gainesville at Buchholz and things like that. And they're in position in a lot of places to make some waves. I mean, that sophomore group of receivers with Mizell and Andy Jean and Trey Wilson, your boy Trey Wilson. I mean, that's as good a group of sophomore receivers as there is in the SEC. And I mean, so you're talking about some guys that I mean, it's deep at a lot of different places. Now, I don't know if it's going to be good. Don't put me on record as saying that.
No.
But on paper, the Gators are much improved in a lot of positions.
Lauren Meadows from Get a Break Magazine joining me on this edition of a Half Full and a Cup of Joe. I gotta get used to the new name.
That's all right, man. You'll get it.
I don't know if you see my new logo up there, and
I do. I like it. I saw it earlier today. That's nice.
Thanks to Brendan Martin. I'll tell you a funny story about that in just a little bit. So they go through the recruiting and they get through and they have these workouts, and you see these reports where guys they've been working out and they've been getting a lot of strength, a lot of muscle. I mean, these guys are definitely putting the work in. Now, one thing we should let you all know is that they made a switch in their training, the way they train in the off season. Mark Hoke, I believe that's it, or Hawk, whatever his name is.
Hockey,
yeah. They did demote him. They moved him up and brought in a new guy. And apparently that guy has been making a lot of difference.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of a change, and I Mark Hockey's a nice guy. I don't know much about it, and but it seems that there's been more of a marriage of not just the weightlifting, but sports science as a whole. And that really seemed to make dividends with the team. I mean, when they were talking about some of the strength numbers and guys running anywhere between 21, they have, like 20, 30 guys that are running plus 20 miles an hour, that they do that test where you go full speed. I think they have 2 or 3 that are running 23 miles an hour. But, I mean, you can see some of these guys. I mean, a guy like Shamar James, who I always thought was a little bit undersized at linebacker, now really looks the part. I mean, he's rocked up in the arms. Justice Boone was kind of tooting his own horn, saying, "Hey, man, I'm cut up now. I look good under here," and he does. I mean, so yeah, you can definitely see that. The strength coach's name escapes me right now, but you might be able to look it up on your doohickey there, but so we can get it right. But definitely has made the gains for sure, and he was very, very pleased with where things were. Tyler Miles is his name. I knew his last name was Miles. Tyler Miles, and and he had come in and previously been with the guy that they had for the short run that came from the NFL. And then I think he impressed them so much that they wanted to keep him on. The players kind of vouched for him. And, he's a farm boy at heart, from what I understand. So hard work is not lost on him. And, one of the things that he talked about, and this is something that I think does sometimes equate itself to winning, not always, but his thing is the type of attitude and daily operation that the players have been able to commit to. Clean locker room, clean weight room,
Yeah.
being timely, all those things that, kind of speak to the character of this team. And I've heard this from many sources inside the program that from a character standpoint, this is the best group that Billy's had collectively. Not to say that some of the guys that weren't there, but it just cohesively is a better group as far as character is concerned. So, I think all those things are a byproduct of what Tyler Miles and just bringing some different individuals into the program. But that's what impressed Tyler Miles most was, he said guys are going to get stronger, but what has impressed him most is the way that they come to work and really leave work every day. They leave the weight room, they leave the locker room in a lot better shape than maybe times in the past.
And that's all having to do with the culture. We'll get to that in just a second. You mentioned about Miles Graham real quick. Yes, let's confirm it right now. He is the son of Ernest Graham, former
Yes,
running
sir.
back with the Florida Gators. Ironically, also former running back Ernest Graham, former running back with the beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
Yes, sir.
but Miles Graham is not a running back. I believe he's a linebacker. Is that correct?
Yes, he did play
I
some
thought
running
so.
back. He played some running back in high school, but yes, he's a linebacker. He is
Oh yeah.
definitely a linebacker.
How, how
And
did Dad? How did Daddy feel about that? I wonder. Did you ever get?
him playing linebacker?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's fine. I mean, you talk about Daddy being he's a little taller than Dad. He's not built, Dad was kind of a bowling ball type dude.
Yeah, he
And,
was.
Miles is a little slimmer, a little leaner. And he's not a running back. So obviously Ernest being in Florida, being in the NFL, having far more than a cup of coffee in the NFL, he understands what a big time linebacker looks like, and his son is that. And seeing his son, I saw his son as a junior when I think they were still up in Jacksonville, and then from the time then I saw him at a function when he had just committed to now. He's a different dude. I mean, he's a from a physical standpoint, yeah. He was still kind of baby faced. Now he looks like a grown man. I mean, they got some dudes now. I mean, and that's they're young, but you look at the improvement that Miles Graham seemed to have shown. He's got I've seen him break some runs at the high school level. Obviously, he's playing running back, but that speaks to some top end speed where he can if you can run away from guys in the state of Florida, you can run a little bit. And so, I think he's going to be somebody that could play sideline to sideline. I think he's kind of penciled in maybe like it as a second stringer right now behind Shamar James and Pup Howard. But, I mean, you're going to see a lot of Miles Graham for sure.
Lauren Meadows joining me on this edition of the season debut of Half Full Cup of Joe right here on Facebook along with YouTube. Um, there was a gentleman who the Gators have been targeting for a while. He went to a different school and then he came back. We're talking, of course, about Cormani McClain, who went to Colorado, and some weird things happen. I mean, I don't know if you read the stuff, but Napier talked about that yesterday about Cormani McClain, and says he's not there yet, and he's not even on the too deep chart. Explain what he means by that.
Cormani's got some work to do. I mean, just kind of like what Dion was saying. Now, obviously, Billy Napier, when it comes to things like that, has a lot more tact, and I think can kind of protect himself from the naysayers when it comes to those things. But I mean, Cormani McClain is a sophomore. He's a true sophomore. And things didn't go great at Colorado. For as much as I am a fan of Deion Sanders, the person, the individual, the jury's still out on that football thing up there. I mean, it really is. And you really don't know. I mean, they failed to protect the quarterback last year. They weren't much better on defense last year. And, I think that with the Travis Hunter and the both brothers and things like that, things have kind of got lost in the shuffle. So I'm not going to put it all on Cormani, but from what I understand no. What I'm saying is Cormani does, when you get to this level, there's a certain type of standard in the way that you need to carry yourself. And for what I understand is Cormani is still working through some of that stuff. And those things can affect you both on the field and they can affect you off the field. What is true and what is not,
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna leave it as Cormani McClain is a sophomore. And what I would maybe tell people to temper is the fact that Florida has some decent guys at corner, so he doesn't have to play much this year if they can stay healthy. But he could also be a young man who by week 3, week 4, week 5 could maybe find himself playing some meaningful minutes as he continues to grow as part of his program. Because I do think the expectations, for lack of, Florida still won one more game than Colorado did last year in a much tougher league. But I'm going to say that the culture is just a little bit different too. So I think the positive culture of the Florida program is going to help this young man tremendously.
Well, and if you read some of the things that was happening in the Colorado locker room, it's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And Deion Sanders would let things like this happen. I think it speaks to the lack of culture that Colorado has. And maybe Deion Sanders is not the coach that everybody thinks that he is. We're not going to get into those details because if you want more, just look it up, Google it. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. We got some new things that are happening this year. Couple of new things. Obviously, we have some new teams in the SEC. Oklahoma and Texas both have entered the league now, which means now my trips to Missouri is going to be less frequent. So I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Yeah, well, you got to drive to Oklahoma City. How much further is that?
To
Norman.
That is is a great question. Somebody can look that up for me. How far it is from West Des Moines to Norman, Oklahoma? I'd be really interested in that. That is a great question. But also, some things in terms of the coaching and what have you. And
8 hours and 10 minutes, Matt. Animal. 8 hours and 10 minutes.
Really?
You got that in you.
And you know what's funny? What's funny is I'm taking
straight south too. Straight south.
Well, what's funny is I'm taking a trip in September. I'm going to the NFL Hall of Fame. The wife and I are going to take a vacation.
Oh yeah, at my neck of the woods. Yeah, my former.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio. So.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're ever up there around the 23rd through 28th, let me know. We'll have to catch.
When are you going again? When are you going?
We're going to try and do the week of September 23rd.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be
if Massillon, Washington, if Massillon is in town, you need to drive out to Massillon and see a football game.
Massillon, Washington High School.
Massillon High School, yes.
Okay. I might. If I'm in town, I might.
If you're there on a Friday night, you need to go see Massillon play.
Good team, huh?
Well, it's just that's where Paul Brown coached, and they're just rampant about football, and like they still put a football in each boy's crib at the local hospital when he's born, and that kind of thing. It's a lot of history. Wow. Yeah, they have a museum at the field house and things like that. So.
Oh wow! Wow! You come on, and you learn things from Lauren Meadows. Wow! That's just fantastic. That's just fantastic. Well, while we're talking about new teams, there are also new rules that are in place, and one of them is the addition of more coaches being able to be on the field. I'm kind of confused by that. Please explain to me what that is.
Well, it used to be, if you were a so-called analyst that was on the coaching staff, you were not allowed to do any type of on-the-field coaching. That's during games. Now, you could coach during practice and things like that, but during games, you were limited to what type of access and what type of coaching you could do. Now, there are guys that particularly guys that you look at a guy like Dan Enos, who has called offense in the SEC and other leagues. That he was at Kansas State and different places like that. He's now helping. He's at Florida helping out. He can now help with quarterbacks and help coach those guys up. They brought in a special teams guy from the Patriots who was going to be an analyst, but now he can lend his talents on the field during the game and be able to coach and do things like that. So, now there's, and you could be a lot more active. I guess even when they were on the field, they could only do certain things. But now I think they can be totally involved in the processes and things like that. So,
Sponsored by Carpet Direct, Lauren Meadows here with you on this edition of Half Full and a Cup of Joe. You're surely Joe Fulford here. We're going to keep you just a couple more minutes here, then we're going to let you go. When the schedule came out, everybody was like, oh my God, this is going to be so horrible. This is going to be a year that's going to decimate Billy Napier. But it's just funny how things just change on a dime within 6 months, because now everybody's saying, hey, this team could go 6-0 within the first 6 games of the year. And looking at it, I don't see why they can't.
Well, you look at the schedule. I mean, you look at those first 6 games, they will be as good as, if not better, from a roster standpoint than every team on that schedule. Now, what gives you pause is the Gators are known for not always playing up to their full potential. And there has been games under Billy Napier in the last 2 years where it just leaves you. I mean, they're literal head scratchers. And you're like, what? Did they practice this week? So I think that's what gives a lot of people pause. But then if you look at the back end of the schedule, here's my thing about that. Yes, it is a tough schedule, but I don't think it by any means. A lot of people are talking about how unfair it is. And here's my rebuttal to the fairness or the toughness of the schedule. One, Steve Spurrier played that type of schedule.
Yes, he
Urban
did.
Meyer played that type of schedule.
Yes, he did.
But what has the SEC done for the last 25 years? They stuck their chest out and said SEC, SEC, SEC. You don't get to beat your chest that you're the best conference in the country and then worry about the schedule. Because, yes, you have the best teams. Then, yes, year in, year out, you're going to play the best schedule. Now, here's my thing, and where I think it could be, we can agree that, and we saw at least 2 games, but you and I were at one of them. Would it be fair to say that the Florida football team that played historically bad defense last year, historically, still should have won 8 games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in agreement. We're in agreement with that now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you got that. Then, so now what I told somebody is, here's where that thing kind of flips itself. Is now you have a 12-team playoff. If Florida were to go 9-3 with the right 9 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we start. They go out and go 6-0. So 6-0 they go, and then let's say we get, well, let's just throw it out there. We get a road loss. We get a road loss. Get a road loss.
Let me do this. Let me read you off the schedule that we have. Miami's going to be in Florida August 31st. Then Sanford at Florida. 2 potential wins. Texas and Oklahoma. Texas, Oklahoma. Texas A&M at Florida. I can see that as being a win. Florida against Mississippi State might be a tough one, but I think we pull it out. Central Florida against Florida. That's 5 wins right there. Then we head off into the Florida-Tennessee game. That could be 6. And then Kentucky, Georgia. We could be 7-0 by the time we play the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right. And that's my point.
Potentially.
Right. But let's say we're 6-1 and we lose by 3 at Tennessee. We lose by 14 at Georgia, and we lose at home by a touchdown to LSU,
Yeah.
who by that time will already have had a win against USC, who's not going to be that bad. So I think whoever wins that game is going to the playoff. So
Which
those are
game?
three.
What
The LSU USC game, the early game, LSU USC. It's the same weekend we play Miami.
South Carolina or
USC. There's only one USC animal.
Southern California? Okay.
There you go. And then, and it's so no, I'm saying so and then we go to Doak Campbell and get a win. So you're 9-3, and your losses are on the road to Tennessee, neutral site, get Georgia,
Right.
and you lose, and really you lose at home, and then you beat Ole Miss at home or LSU at home, and you go to Doak Campbell and get a win. You're 9-3. Does that team get in the playoffs? Because now that schedule, that same schedule that people are barking about, is now the toughest schedule in the country, and you navigated it with only 3 losses.
Yes. I mean, there's no reason why.
Is there right? So there would be an argument that they are one of the top 12 teams in the country. Would you agree?
Right. I would totally agree on that. If you go by
And so
the philosophy of Lauren Meadows, yes, I would agree with that. So I think you're right on that.
right.
It just depends what happens. But now you said something that really caught my eye here. Neutral game, Florida against Georgia, but isn't this the year where they're rebuilding? They're doing some remaking of Jacksonville. Aren't they doing home and home series?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's like I think it's 26, 27, maybe.
Oh, so it's
2
down the
2 years
road.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting ahead of myself on all this.
Yeah, you are a little bit.
As we close it out here, interesting developments happen within the school. Is that University President Ben Sass announced he's stepping down. Kim Fuchs stepping in as interim. Is administration kind of worried about who's going to step in as the new president, or are they not concerned right now?
Well, I mean, you got a ready-made successful president to step in. I mean, Ken Fox is probably one of the more successful presidents in Florida's history. I mean, I think when he took over, Florida was a top 15 public institution, and by the time he left, arguably the number 1 public institution in the country. You know, I always tell people presidents don't get judged on, you know, you look at, when you talk about a president, you look at endowment, you look at academic rating, you look at how many cranes you see on campus. All those things are right.
All those
So,
things.
right. So what
I
I'm
understand that.
right,
What
and
I'm-
that
I
so
understand what you're saying, but
right,
my
so
point is, a new president that comes in might want to look at things from a different perspective.
well, and that's
Might-
what I was saying, right? So when
Okay.
they choose a president, yes, he will certainly examine, and from what I understand, Ben Sass was in the process of doing that as well. Examine the state of things throughout. And I'm sure one of the first things he will look at is what is Florida's flagship program, the football program.
Of course.
And it'll definitely depend on what
Money.
kind of shape the program's in at that time when that person comes in, most certainly.
One other thing that has kind of been taking a back seat, but is still, I think, on the mind of administration, Jacob Frashada, and that whole deal that went down. They filed a lawsuit. What can you tell me? What do you know is the latest on that?
There, you know, once those things kind of come out, then everybody kind of goes behind closed doors and starts fact finding and wheeling and dealing. You know, if Florida's lawyers and lawyers for Billy Napier and others are smart, they will do their very best to keep everything tight-lipped. Now, from what I understand from those that are far more in the know than you and I, is it's going to be hard to find a paper trail when it comes to that kind of thing. And when it comes to litigation and civil lawsuits, no, you don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, but Jaden Rashada's lawyers are going to have to prove that whatever was done was not in good faith. And then you got to leave it up to 12 jurors, and the way things have gone, I think the way that the deregulation of NIL in this case, I think is going to work against Jaden Rashada, because I think if 12 jurors look at it from the standpoint of, yes, you were able to negotiate your own deal, you have that right through the NIL, but you were negligent in getting any type of paper that dictated said terms.
Great point.
So I think it's going to work, but that's just me talking. I mean, my limited knowledge my limited knowledge of lawyers and things like that. But I think that and if it was more to it, maybe you would hear more about it. But here we are 3 weeks away from the season, and it's just kind of like, so, and from what I understand, I guess, is maybe those that were part of the Gator Collective might be far more culpable than Billy Napier.
Yeah. And let's get one thing straight. This has nothing to do with Billy Napier. I want to get that out there right now. This is something that happens to do with the Florida Collective, which is a brand of the NIL, name, image, and likeness. So,
but Napier was named in the lawsuit.
Yeah, but
it does have.
But I thought his name was taken off the lawsuit.
Was it?
I think so.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
In fact, I might want to double check in on that. But I thought I heard a rumor that his name was
okay. Well, if in that case, then you're talking about, and see, that's the thing is, as these things continue and these deals are made, that's what I said. I think there's going to be some different, this is going to be one of those things where they're going to have to get some type of regulation to not only protect these players, but protect these coaches too. Because think about it this way. Once you set a precedent, Animal, that I can win a case by he say, she say, or hearsay, then that just tears. And I just don't know how you're going to convince people that this was a backdoor handshake or phone call or what was said on the phone call. And even if they could produce tapes of the phone call, everybody knows that both parties have to agree to have for it to even be admissible in court. So even if there are tape kind of conversations or anything like that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the issue is. And it's interesting that this came out after Rashada left Arizona State. That's what's kind of kooky to me is he was at Georgia. Like, he spent the whole year at Arizona State and never anything. And then all of a sudden he gets to Georgia and now there's this big lawsuit. So I don't know. I mean, I just think it's a lot to do about it.
Jacob Rashada's at Georgia now?
Yeah. He's the backup or third string quarterback at Georgia,
along with another guy who used to be a former Gator that we won't even bother to use his name.
That's a whole nother story. I mean, from a press standpoint, that is the world we live in now. That is college football. Yeah. From a fan standpoint, we have to talk about that off camera.
I want to. I really want to get. I really want to talk.
It'll be a quick conversation. Don't worry about it.
I am, man. It's been great. You've been on with me for 39 minutes. I appreciate you. I wish I could.
Absolutely, man.
But I want to move on to other things. Talk about, because that's what my show is about.
Absolutely.
Let's hook up the week before the Miami game. How's that?
All right, man. Anytime, man. Just let me know.
This time I promise I'll give you plenty of time.
congrats on the new branding too. That's awesome. I like it.
I hope you like it too. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
I
it's
appreciate
nice.
that.
That's
Right,
tight.
thank you, man. And
All
thanks
right.
to Brendan who made that logo for me. So that was great. So Brendan Martin. So thanks, man. You have a good one. God bless.
All right now.
And go enjoy your dinner too. All right, that's Lauren Meadows joining me on my very first guest on my brand new show, Half Full and Cup of Joe. Yours truly, Joe Fulford, on this edition. I never knew that Jacob Rashad. I never knew that Jacob Rashad transferred to Georgia. And now that I hear about that, you tend to wonder how much did Jacob Rashada get influenced by Georgia to press this lawsuit on the NIL? I mean, it is worthy of talking about, you know. It is worthy of bringing that up, you know. Oh, geez. So James Luneman joins me here. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So he asked, over under Napier last one more year. I think Napier's going to last a few more years. You know. In fact, I want to get you. And in fact, if I got enough time, I'd like to get you on, James. Talk to you about something else too. And speaking of changes that have happened, James is a big fan of Alabama Crimson Tide football, though I have no idea why. But boy, a major transformation has occurred down there with Nick Saban leaving, Kalen DeLoach taking over as the new head coach. Already, people are saying that Alabama has a 27% chance of making it to the playoffs. I'm not ready to make that prediction. Alabama is Alabama, okay. And when you look at Alabama and look what they've done, I mean, they still have a lot of Nick Saban guys. You think that Kalen DeLoach is going to come in here and just have a bad season? No. Alabama is just too tough of a team. Alabama is a type of team that Alabama is the type of team that has loads and loads of talent, and that they're not really going to back down all that much. They're not going to really lose a lot with the new coach, and I seriously doubt. I really doubt that Deloach Alabama's gonna fall off all that much. Now it depends how many Bama coaching staff people he took with him, but I think for the large part, I don't think they hired Kalen DeLoach for a total rebuild. I think they hired him to be a nice change of pace and possibly a smooth transition. Now I don't see Alabama going anywhere. God knows I wish they would, but go away. But you know, let's see here. So and Bobby Alexander comments says, since you didn't know Jaden Rashada went to Georgia, did you know Corman McClain is now in the Gators as a preferred walk-on? Yes, I did know that. And let me explain what Bobby means. What Bobby means by that. Bobby Alexander, who has his own show, and we'll get him on sometime. He also says Rashada went after the money. The lawsuit was BS. He won't even see the field. No, he may not. If Georgia quarterbacks play well, I don't think any guys are going to see the field at all. So, but let me explain what preferred walk-on is. When somebody like McClain comes in, okay, for Cormani McClain, he came in very late into the season. What? May, June is when he first came on board. So he's not going to have a full scholarship. He's what they call a preferred walk-on, or PWO. And what it is, he's going to go through the motions, he's going to work out, he's going to get the practice that he needs, and eventually, if he keeps improving and becomes a player that we've seen as a recruit, then in the end, McLean will get a scholarship, and he'll be have a full ride. But for somebody like McLean, he's a preferred walk-on, and he does not account against the number of scholarships. James and Ludeman makes another comment. Says the stat I saw this week was 46% of the Gators who played under Urban are either dead or. Please, seriously, come on, please. I don't care about Urban Meyer and the legacy either. That's gone, people. That's in the past. Okay, we're worried about Billy Napier and what he can do. And I gotta tell you something. The culture that he's brought to this team in year 3 has been amazing. I mean, you just hear. I mean, if you heard Lauren Meadows talk about how players are taking ownership. If you hear about how players are taking ownership, like cleaning up the locker room, cleaning up their messes, things like that. I mean, you listen to Billy Napier, and they feel like that he is the players are taking full ownership, and because of that, there's like a different culture, a different vibe within the locker room, and I think that's why you're starting to see the positive changes within this team. Do not be surprised if we talked about if the Gators go 6-1 within the first 7 games. You're surely the animal on this Joe Fulford brand new show, Half Full Cup of Joe, sponsored by the fine people at Carpet Director. I better do this before I get hammered here, because I don't want my boy Taylor Benton to get mad at me. There we go. Put on the Carpet Direct logo, and we'll keep that on for the remainder of the show. Of course, Benton Taylor is owner of Carpet Direct, so if you need some carpeting needs, give him a call, and he'll be able to help you out. Bucks are getting ready for the game this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. It'll be replayed on the NFL Network. Baker Mayfield and company will get maybe a series or 2, but that's about it. You hear the conversations about Baker, and they say that he's just playing really, really well. And you get the sense that they're going to pick up where they left off last year. And I want to talk more about, and we'll talk more about the Buccaneers in just a little bit. Well, in just a little bit, okay. But there's also something else that's happening now. If you like indoor football, you know that there's a league called the Indoor Football League, which is exciting, guys. It's kind of like indoor hockey, but with a football. I mean, these guys hit, they slam. The coaches just will yell and throw tablets down on the ground. I mean, it's just unbelievable the things that happen. Well, anyways, the Indoor Football League regular season has concluded. They're in the playoffs. Championship game is a week from this Sunday, when Massachusetts will be taking on the Arizona Rattlers in Las Vegas for the championship game. And to discuss all that and much more about what's happening within the confines of the Indoor Football League, my good friend, my partner in crime, my amigo, Mr. Dave, the Moji Man, as I like to call him, Dave Murchison. How you doing,
Hey,
Moji?
Joe. How's it going?
What's going on, brother? You like the new logo? You like the new?
Yeah, I'm trying.
You know,
Trying to get I had a little technical difficulty, so.
well, you can take care of those.
I'm good now. As long as you can hear me good, I'm good.
I'm sorry. What's your name? No, I'm kidding. Yes, of course I can hear you. There you go. We'll get into the we're going to get into the Barnstormers here in just a minute. But Indoor Football League Championship coming up next weekend. Surprising upset as Massachusetts defeated Green Bay. That was a shocker.
Yeah, I didn't. Massachusetts is really talented. So I don't want to say I didn't see it coming, but Green Bay had been playing so good. Their last couple of games, they had some close ones, but they also had things kind of sewn up. So I saw Arizona from a mile away. They only lost one of their last 11 games. So they've been playing really well. But the Green Bay Massachusetts one, yeah, I thought Green Bay was probably going to pull that out, and we would have saw Arizona and Green Bay in the championship.
Yeah, and I was really shocked how well I was really shocked at how well Massachusetts played. I mean, when they played us earlier this year, I knew I saw a good team, but I did not think they were as good as I did not think they were as good as Green Bay, and I don't know what Massachusetts did, but they put a licking on Green Bay that
Yeah.
still keeps on ticking. Oh my gosh!
I think it was one of those situations where Green Bay had been playing so well. They probably were very confident going into the game, and Massachusetts is always super talented. They always have a very talented roster, and by the time Green Bay kind of blinked and got their foundation under them, it was already 28-7. So the second half was really close, but that first quarter and a half, Green Bay was kind of asleep at the wheel, and Massachusetts played really well. And then from like mid-second quarter on, it was kind of even. I think Green Bay probably outscored them from the mid-second quarter on, but it was too late with that hole they dug.
Explain to us, take us into the mindset of a head coach when he sees something like that, and you say to yourself, do you feel like you feel like you're so that you feel like you've lost control of the game that you can't get it back? I mean, what goes through the mindset when something like this happens?
Uh, Man, it's tough because you every time you're down, the scoreboard only matters when the game strikes zero. So you can't worry too much about the scoreboard per se during the game because it doesn't really matter until there's no time left in the game. So you have to be conscious of it, but you can't worry about it. So I would assume as Mass kept scoring and Green Bay wasn't scoring, they kind of just kept focusing on trying to get one back. The best you can do is just get one score back and then try to claw yourself back in the game. So knowing Coach Roberson as well as I do, we go back, almost 20 years now, which is crazy, but we go back almost 20 years. I'm sure he had that same message. Let's just get one back and defense will get settled in. I mean, they had the best defense in the league. They gave up 32 points a game. So I think that was probably the message.
Roberson, didn't he used to coach at Green Bay? Roberson,
so Roberson's Green Bay's head coach. Yeah, he's Green Bay's head coach.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
He's been there for a long time.
Yeah, he had just like
he played there in 2010 was his last year playing. He played in Green Bay that year, and he's coached there ever since. Became the head coach in 2018, but he was a D coordinator there for 7 years off and on, and became the head coach halfway through the 2018 season.
Why are the Arizona Rattlers such a good team day in and day out? It just amazes me.
A lot of reasons. They have a really good fan base, and they get a lot of people to the game, whether they win or lose. So that helps because that adds to the budget. Then part of that money goes towards what they can do for guys. So, I think they take care of guys pretty well over there, better than a lot of teams are able to. It's obviously Phoenix, Arizona. It's a nice place, or Glendale technically now. It's a nice place to live for guys for 6 months, but other people have that same, San Diego or Bay Area or the other Arizona teams. Tucson is a good place to live too. So, but I think, Kevin Guy does a good job. They have a good staff of guys. They have a good front office. They just have a lot of things in place that have been there for a long time. Some of the programs, even us.
Stability.
Yeah, stability. They have had people in their roles for a long time, and they're always pretty good. They haven't won a championship in 7 years, so it's not like they're always winning championships, but they're always a good team. So that's something we're striving to get to where they're at. But they do some stuff off the field, to take care of guys. I think a pretty good way.
What type of game do we see in the championship? Do we?
Man, I've been saying it for since like the last week of the season. We kind of laid in a couple eggs, and we went into Arizona with really little chance of going anywhere. You know, we laid an egg against Tulsa, and then we kind of laid an egg against Jacksonville, and our season kind of ended sooner than we thought it was going to. But Arizona had already been playing good, so we were watching film leading up to the game when we went out there, and it was just like, man, these guys are really firing on all cylinders. So they are defensively, they are just, you know, beating the crap out of people, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, their D-line is just dominating people. Their linebackers are hammering quarterbacks, and they're covering guys pretty well. But offensively, they're also playing really good. I think they scored on every drive until their very last drive in their conference championship game. They have a good mix of run pass. Shannon Brooks is probably, it's hard to say because Jimmy Robinson's really good too at running back, but Shannon Brooks is probably the most complete running back in the league. He's not as fast as Jimmy Robinson from Massachusetts, but he's not that much slower, and he's just a horse, man. He can bring the pain. If you know, Barnstormers fans watching this, he ran really, really well against us the first game. We bottled him up a little bit better the second game, but that first game he ran wild on us.
Dave Murchison joining me here on this edition of Half Full and Cup of Joe with yours truly, Joe Fulford. Barnstormer season wasn't quite the season that you wanted. I mean, you had like 17 first-year guys. I mean, that's really kind of hard to get a to develop a winning team, right?
Yeah, you know, it isn't. You know, IFL is a league that's based on having young guys. So Arizona maybe a little bit of Arizona and Mass kind of bucking that trend this year because they are two veteran heavy teams or not necessarily veterans, but guys with a couple of years of experience. And then, you only have 7 veterans, which is more than 4 years of professional experience. So they both are close to that 7 limit of veterans, and they have multiple guys who have been in the league 2-3 years. So this is one of the first years that's happened where both championship participants are really heavy on that. In the past, it's been teams that have a good mix of veteran guys or experienced guys, and then some really good rookies. So were we a little bit younger than we anticipated? Yeah, we had some guys that we thought with some experience that didn't, they either didn't show up to camp because they had some life stuff happen, or they got beat out by a young guy and didn't go anywhere else and play. So it was difficult from that aspect. We lost 8 games by 1 possession. From our standpoint,
Yeah.
I know there still are some fans that are upset that we didn't make the playoffs and didn't do what we needed to do, but we win 4 of those games. We're in the playoffs. We were probably the 2nd or 3rd seed. So the bottom didn't fall out. You can chalk it up to numerous things. Every game was something different. We didn't have a lot of stability at the quarterback position this year. I thought we had a couple of spurts. Kyle King played really well for a few games, and he got hurt. And then Brandon Alt played really well the last 4. So getting some stability at quarterback will be key. Bringing back some of the core guys from this year will be important. If we can get 5 or 6 or 7 of the core guys back, and then have that experience added to a group of another maybe 13 or 14 rookies instead of 17 or 18.
Do you think Brandon and Kyle King be back next year?
Kyle King's injury, I think Kyle King might be done playing football. So his injury is just the stuff's not going as we had hoped to go. So if I had to make a guess right now, Kyle King probably is going to be done playing football at a professional level, at least. I mean, he plays some hometown flag league when he's 35 or something, but he's probably going to be there. I think Brandon Alt will be back. We're close to securing that deal and getting him locked up for another year before free agency opens next month. So we're hoping that Brandon can come back and kind of, have the front door of becoming the starter. Obviously there'll be somebody else in camp who can push him. But he started for us for 4 games. He was here for 5, started for 4. If you take his stats from the 4 starts and times them by 4, which, it's kind of wishful thinking, but that's 16 game season. If he started 16 games,
yeah, exactly.
He'd have passed for 3,700 yards and 84 touchdowns. He'd have been in MVP discussion. So we think if Brandon can come back offensively, we'll be all right. And we just, we lost a lot of high scoring games this last year. So we got to find a way to play a little bit better defense. It's kind of been the story of, in spite of the quarterback issues that we had and the instability at the position, we still, outside of the first couple of games, put up a lot of points most every game. We just didn't stop them very much. So that's our biggest key, is try to, if we had a defense like Green Bay, we would have been 13-3 or whatever they were. They only gave up 32 points a game. I think we scored more than 32 in almost every single game, so except for one. So Bay Area gave up 35 a game. Tulsa gave up 38 a game. So it's doable to give up under 42, 43. Just got to find the right mix and find the right person pulling the trigger. And if we can get our defense down to even that 44, 45 range, which is a pretty average defense, if we can be in the top half, 7 to 10 or something in defensive rank as a minimum, we should win a lot of games next year.
And as for you, and what are your plans for the off season? Will you be back? Has that been decided what your future is right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're not making a big public display of affection, but I did sign the contract extension, so I'll be back. So that some people hearing this will be excited, and some hearing this, Barnstormer fans will be like, "Son of a gun!" I was hoping we'd get rid of that guy, but I'll be back here for another couple years and see if we can't bring back that magic of 2022 when we were right there trying to make a run. So I think the Eastern Conference will be wide open again next year.
I do too.
So again, it's just losing 8 one-possession games was tough. We got a couple. Arizona second time waxed us. Mass the first time waxed us. So I think it'll all boil down to stability at quarterback. If Brandon Alt can come in and be the guy and play as well as he played the last 4 games, I think we'll be all right on offense. And then it's just a matter of, can we, be great to say, let's have the best defense in the league, but we had one of the worst. So let's get that to maybe middle of the road next year as a goal, and try to maybe beat that goal. But if we can get to middle of the league defensively, and we stay where we're at offensively with what Brandon did the last 4 games, we'll be a contending team for sure.
Final question, and I'll let you go. Who do you like for the game next week?
I don't see. I mean, the Rattlers have been playing so good. So since they beat us the first time, they beat us by 2 in Des Moines way back in April, our first home game of the year. Battled them back and forth. They beat us by 2. But since that game, they've won 10 out of the 11 games. And the only game they lost, Vegas kind of pulled 2 out of their rear end. They had a quarterback scramble in the 4th quarter where he just broke a bunch of tackles. And I just think Arizona is playing such good football, and they're playing such a physical brand of football right now on both sides of the ball, that their offensive and defensive lines are just destroying the other team. So it'll be a good matchup, because that's probably Mass's strengths, their offensive and defensive line. And Benefield's a really good quarterback who's been around, who's won a championship against Arizona way back in 2021. So I think it'll be a good game, but I really think the Rattlers are gonna win that one.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way too. And by the way, that game will be on CBS Sports Network, so you can catch the game. It's nice to see that the league starting to expand its TV market. They were on Stadium, and now they're going to be on CBS Sports
the Stadium
Network.
things looked like it had some hiccups, but CBS Sports should
yes.
run. CBS Sports should run smoothly, I would assume. And Henderson, that they just changed names. I don't want to say the wrong name. Somebody else just bought the rights to the naming rights. So, but that stadium in Henderson, Nevada, is a really nice stadium. I'll be out there. We have some league meetings, and I'll be going to the game. So, should be a good game.
Real quick, you talked about league meetings. Anything to keep an eye on? Any news that you think is going to break during those league meetings?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not really anything groundbreaking. It's more of a review from the year before. There'll be a Hall of Fame dinner and some league meetings, just really review the new teams coming in next year. The Indianapolis team, Fishers, technically it's a suburb of Indianapolis. So that Fishers team's coming in, so I'm assuming they'll be there. And the most groundbreaking stuff doesn't happen in the meetings. It's inside conversations and stuff like that. So early laydowns of free agency, and agents will be walking around, and I'm sure coaches that are looking for promotions or there's not really any head coach there's no head coach openings yet. Obviously Fishers hasn't hired a head coach, at least they haven't announced one, but there's been nobody removed from their head coaching spots. So I'm not sure how much action will happen on that front, but that's usually the kind of stuff that goes down.
Well, listen, man. Listen, I thank you so much for taking time out to join me. Thank you for doing all the interviews post game. I know.
I'm happy to be on the first episode of the new named show.
Yes. We're glad to have you. And anytime you want to pop on and talk football, man, you're more than welcome. Just give me a buzz up, and we'll talk,
just let me know. I know it's Florida Gators and Tampa Bay Buccaneers time now.
Well, it's everything.
You start asking me questions about that, and I don't know anything. So.
Well,
I'm buried in my phone for recruiting for Barnstormers. So I'm try to catch a Bears game here or there if I can. But every time you get me on in the fall and you start asking me Florida questions, I have to pull answers. I have to BS my way through them because I don't really know what's going on in those worlds.
Real quick about the Bears and Caleb Williams. I mean,
good ball player, man. Good ball player.
Do you think he's going to be good for the Bears?
I think he's going to be the best quarterback in Bears history, which is not really going to be that hard to do because I haven't had a lot of good ones as long as I've been around with the Bears. Right. So I think from what I've seen with Caleb Williams, I think he's a special quarterback. So the kind of guy that can win championships. So similar to the IFL and in the NFL, you're not winning a champ. You need to have a historically great defense to win a championship without elite quarterback play. It just doesn't happen. So you get that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense when you had Brad Johnson, who wasn't bad, but he wasn't historic. Wasn't elite. I would say. Or the Ravens defense, or those are really the last two I can think of that just really didn't have elite quarterbacks. Maybe those '80s Giants teams. I don't think Bill Sims was an elite guy. So if you don't have elite quarterback, you need to have generational defense to win. That's really kind of the MO of professional football and the age we're in right now, at least for the last 20 years.
That's interesting. Hey, listen, man, thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, anytime you want to hop on, give me a buzz.
Thanks, Joe.
Talk to you, brother. Bye-bye. That is Dave Mojiton talking about the Indoor Football League game coming up next week and talking a little bit about the Iowa Barnstormers. And yes, breaking news, Mojiton will be back for next year. Now, whether or not he will be, will be back next year. I mean, he'll be back next year, but whether or not he brings in a different coaching staff, that's going to be interesting to see. So we'll follow those developments during the course of the off season. Bobby Alexander just made a point here that goes right into what I'm going to talk about with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to hide it here for just a minute. As you all know by now, the Buccaneers and Jason Light, well, what an awesome job Jason Light has done. They go into the offseason, they had a lot of questions about deals that had to be made. Mike Evans in a new contract, Baker Mayfield in a new contract, a couple of other players, including Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, the defensive linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, by now they got rid of Devin White. He's off with another team. And recently he kind of shot off his mouth a little bit about the Buccaneers. I don't have time to get into it on the show. We might talk about that another time. Bobby says, how do you feel about all these quarterbacks making all this big money? I'm not sure how I feel about Jordan Love getting paid that big money with one full season, or two when getting paid when he's injury prone. Bobby makes an excellent point, and I'm glad he brought that up. I mean, Jordan Love gets paid an absurd amount of money for playing just 1 year of football. 1 year of football, and he gets paid to be one of the top quarterbacks in all the National Football League. And then same thing with Tua. He gets paid a big amount of money. So did Baker Mayfield. $100 million contract. Okay? And, I think that for a guy like Jordan Love for just one season, I think that's way too much. You got to keep in mind that you're putting your whole investment into 1 year. Are you crazy? Now the Buccaneers did the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Okay. But what I'm going to say about Baker Mayfield is he has all sorts of talent around him, from a great offensive line to receivers in Chris Godwin, who they re-signed, I believe, Mike Evans, to great running backs that they have. I mean, all the talent that's all around him that makes him look so good. And because of that, that's why Baker's getting the big money. Bobby raises a great point about Tua getting injury prone, but still makes a whopping some money, as well as Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence. And I'll tell you something. Out of those three quarterbacks, if I'm being totally honest about the situation, I would put my money on Trevor Lawrence over Baker Mayfield and over Tua T. And the reason why is because Trevor, I see so much wonderful talent in a guy like Trevor Lawrence. That guy is so good. And Baker Mayfield's good too. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's not great. I'm just saying, given one of the three, I'll take Trevor Lawrence over any one of them guys any day of the week. But that's just me. Now, at some point, when this big money runs out, I don't think we're going to see that happen anytime soon, as long as these quarterbacks keep producing. And back to the Bucs. As you heard recently, Todd Bowles says this is Baker Mayfield's team. Baker Mayfield has the keys to this team, so they're pulling it full steam ahead with an improved offensive line and Graham Barton, who was drafted number 1, and I love Graham Barton. I love what he presents. I gotta tell you something. Jason Light played the draft so beautifully. I mean, it was just amazing to see how far Graham Barton had fallen. I was like, come on, you gotta move up. You gotta draft Graham Barton. You gotta trade a pick. You gotta get Graham Barton. But Light was patient. He let the board come to him, and you saw all these players getting drafted. And the more you saw all these players getting drafted, the more it appeared that Graham Barton was going to be the guy, and he turned out to be the guy. And they quickly sign him. They get him into camp. Boys, the Bucs are not messing around. They're here to play. They're here ready to get things going. And for Saturday night, do not expect the Buccaneers to be playing a lot of starters. This is going to be probably a 1-2 series at the maximum start for the team. And defensively, I think that the same way for them. Okay. I think it's going to be in week 3 that we're going to see a lot of these starters playing well into the third quarters. Well, it should be as they get ready for the regular season. Well, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to the regular season. I know you guys are looking forward to August 31st. Florida, Miami, ABC. I forget, and I hang on. I can find it here. What time that game? I believe it's a 3:30 afternoon game for Florida and Miami. I'm not sure. Yeah, hang on. 2:30, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central Time in the Swamp, August 31st, which is like 2 weeks from 8, 9, 10th, 17th, 20, 3 weeks. 3 weeks from this coming Saturday, as we get ready for the football season. So that's going to be interesting to see. I want to thank all you guys for joining me tonight in the chat. James Ludeman, Bobby Yay, third, Scotty Lutz, Peter Gallons, Bonnie K. Thank you so much for joining me. I apologize for the technical issues. One of the things I'm going to ask you all is that I want to get this on my Facebook page, But in order to do that, I need to have a lot of people like my page. Go to Half Full Cup of Joe on Facebook. Like my page. Let's get 100 likes so we can start posting it on that. Thank you to Dave Mogerson for joining me. Thank you for Lauren Meadows for joining me. And as I wrap it up tonight, always good in the morning to make sure that you have your keep your attitude always half full and have a cup of Joe. Good night, everybody, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks for joining Joe Fulford on Half Full and a Cup of Joe. Don't forget to tune in next time for more football talk, analysis, and fun. Follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Half Full and a Cup of Joe. And remember, always keep your cup half full and your team spirit full. See you next time.
Oh, bye.